Welcome to World Knowledge. When love has truly touched a man's heart, his strength and confidence can suddenly become fragile. Surprisingly, this is not simply about sweet words or romantic gestures. Sometimes, it is the seemingly unintentional actions that reveal that he is really afraid of losing you. Something that not every man dares to admit. Have you ever realized that he cares for you more, or always wants to know what you are doing, where you are, even just the small details of your daily life? These changes are not random. It is his way of secretly showing his concern and love. So, how do you recognize these signs? We will explore the changes in his actions and find out why they are the clearest evidence of true love, which never fades. 1. That is when two people quarrel. He is the one who takes the blame. When two people are together, there are more or less small conflicts. Because each person has a different personality, a different lifestyle, so conflicts in thinking and behavior are inevitable. During arguments and anger, it is very likely that you and he will say words that hurt the other person. At this time, when the man is afraid of losing you, he will take the initiative to apologize to you first and admit his mistakes. Because he is afraid of losing you. At the same time, he also regrets doing things that make you angry and saying things that make you sad. When there is good news, he shares it with you first. In love, loving someone means that when you are sad or happy, you think of that person first. A man who truly loves you, when he sees something beautiful or eats something delicious, he always wants to share it with you. 2. As long as there is time, he will be with you. Many couples, even though they love each other deeply, have to break up because they live too far apart and spend too little time together. The saying, out of sight, out of mind, is not wrong. A man who truly loves you and is afraid of losing you will want to run to you at any time. Sometimes, he just needs to look at you and hug you once. This is enough to show his sincere feelings for you. Love. 3. When you say no, he does not force you. When a man is afraid of losing you, he will try his best to please you, even in things you do not like or do not agree with. He will not force you. Maybe he will persuade you, but if you are still stubborn and do not listen, he will not persuade you anymore and respect your opinion. In a relationship, there are not only negative emotions such as jealousy, anger, or blame, but also anxiety and fear. The biggest fear is the fear of losing the person you love. Discover the signs that he is afraid of losing you that you should not ignore. 4. That is when there is good news. He shares it with you first. In love, loving someone is when you are sad. When you are happy, you think of that person first. A man who truly loves you, when he sees something beautiful, eats something delicious, he always wants to share it with you. 5. He is always calm and never gets angry. One of the signs that he is afraid of losing you is that he never gets angry with you. Whenever there is a conflict, he always stays calm and only pretends to be angry with you. This proves that you are important to him and the only one in his heart. Take note of this precious sign. If you are in a relationship with someone who is always cranky and trying to get mad at you, it is time to take things seriously. 6. He respects the values that you value. Knowing how to value the things that are important to you is a sign that he is afraid of losing you. If he shows appreciation and care for the things that you value, it is a sign that he wants to build a long-term relationship. On the other hand, if he does not care or even opposes the things that are important to you, he is probably just playing around and does not want to commit. Do not lose this valuable sign in your relationship. 7. He is devoted to housework. The most recognizable sign that he is afraid of losing you is when he actively helps you with housework without you having to remind him. If you find a man who is willing to do all the housework, hold on to him. This is a man worth keeping. Don't ignore this sign. A man who is willing to share housework with you not only shows his care but also proves that he values this relationship. This is someone worthy of your long-term companionship. Because this small but sincere action is the foundation of lasting love. If you have followed this far, please leave a comment. I want happiness. That you will give us more motivation to make more meaningful videos. If you haven't liked the video, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe to the channel to support. We will give you a heart. Thank you very much. 8. He is always willing to apologize. Willing to take responsibility. For men, apologizing is often a challenge. Especially for those who are patriarchal and arrogant. If you are in love with such a man, hold on to him. He is willing to accept mistakes and take responsibility, even when it is not his fault. Such a man will not calculate everything in the relationship and always listen to your opinion. Don't miss this important sign. When a man truly loves, the fear of losing his woman will make him act differently. Expressions such as respecting your opinion, always caring about your feelings, or trying to make you happy all come from sincere love. This is not only a sign of a sustainable relationship but also shows that he sees you as an important and indispensable part of his life. If you feel these things from your man, cherish and respond with sincerity, because that is the foundation for a long-lasting and happy love. Love is not just about words or romantic gestures, but sometimes it is the small actions and silent care that a man has for you. When he is afraid of losing you, it is a sign that his love is truly mature and deep. Although men rarely express their emotions, when they are deeply in love, they cannot hide their worries and special care for the person they love. And when you realize these expressions, perhaps that is when you understand that true love is not something that is easy to get, but a strong emotion that needs to be cherished and preserved. Sophie and Alex have been together for 3 years. And during that time, they have always been an admirable couple. In the evenings together, they laugh and share stories from work to future dreams. But over time, those sweet moments gradually become boring. As if they are just living the life of close friends, not lovers. Sophie began to notice changes from the smallest things. One evening, when the two sat down to dinner together, Alex did not ask Sophie a single question about her work or her day. He was always focused on his phone, occasionally glancing at her hurriedly. Sophie tried to make conversation, but Alex's answers were just tired, yeah, oh, or, okay. Their conversations were now as empty as a passing wind. Without any interest, Sophie felt like she was talking to a wall, not the person she loved. One day, Sophie tested Alex a little. She pretended not to remember her birthday and waited to see how he would react. She didn't mention it, giving no indication that she was expecting a greeting from Alex. The day passed, and when it was already dark, Alex sent Sophie a hasty text. Oh, is it your birthday today? Congratulations. Do you want to go out to eat? That question made Sophie feel disappointed. She had expected unexpected gifts and sweet wishes. But now, everything was too late. Then, Sophie began to notice the rest. Every time she mentioned the future, Alex would only answer perfunctorily, as if he was no longer interested in their common plans. Sure, go ahead. Alex would often reply whenever she wanted to talk to him about the future they had dreamed of. There were no more passionate conversations about long trips. No more plans for a house together or children. Everything became vague, and Sophie realized that these dreams were no longer shared with Alex. Then, it was undeniable that they no longer had happy moments like before. In the early days, just Alex holding her hand. A look was enough to make her feel like the whole world belonged to just the two of them. But now, those handshakes were no longer warm, but cold like a habit. Every evening together was no longer a joy but an obligation. Sophie began to feel empty. as if their love had been forgotten in the flow of time. One day, Sophie decided to face the truth. She could not continue in a relationship without a real connection. Even though it was painful, Sophie had to do it because she knew that if it continued, both of them would only hurt each other more. She asked Alex out one night and said softly, "Honey, I think it's time for us to end things. We're not the same anymore. The love is no longer here." Alex looked at her, his eyes empty, but then he just nodded slightly. There was no strong reaction. No surprise. They both knew they had reached a dead end. Alex didn't hold Sophie back. And Sophie didn't ask him to change. They parted ways, each carrying memories of the other but no hope for a future together. After the breakup, Sophie felt relieved. She knew that this decision was not the end but the opening of a new door. She would find herself again, explore her unfulfilled dreams, and one day, she believed that she would find true love, a love that no longer had to be dragged on, but was a natural, joyful, and complete connection. Here are 6 signs that it's time to break up. Let's find out together. Love can be beautiful, but sometimes, it's the inevitable signs that show that the relationship is no longer the same. Sometimes, love requires not only effort but also the ability to recognize the right time to let go. When continuing only prolongs the pain and hurt, ending it may be the only way for both of you to find happiness again. But how do you know when that is? How do you know that love is no longer the same? And is it time to stop? These signs will help you determine that. Let's find out the most obvious signs when love has reached a dead end. 1. That is failure in communication. Communication is so essential to a relationship that its absence can be a sign that the relationship is on the decline. Either of you no longer talk about problems or communicate about things that bother you. That's a huge sign that one of you wants to give up on the relationship. Not communicating will leave a huge void in your relationship and turn small problems into unnecessary problems. Try going for an afternoon walk or booking a table at a restaurant to make the conversation flow more easily. If that proves difficult and shows that you simply don't care anymore, then you know what to do. 2. Lack of interest in sex. Having a healthy sex life that suits both of your sexual desires is important for any relationship. However, if your bedroom vibe has gone from exciting and experimental to dull and repetitive, it's time to call it quits. If your sex life has gone from 60 to 0, it's a bad sign that your relationship is going south. A little bit of a dip in libido is normal. But if one or both of you has lost it completely, without any underlying medical conditions involved, it may be time to end the relationship. If you're not ready to call it quits, try talking to a professional counselor or sex therapist about why you might be feeling less sexual. If you're not that intimate yet, then perhaps your relationship should just be a friendship. 3. And being bored. When you first start a relationship, your partner's romantic gestures will be plentiful and every little sign of their affection for you will fuel the flames of love. But if you're going through months of boredom, no longer interested in your partner's gestures, then perhaps the sweet period is over. If your partner and you aren't trying to rekindle the feelings, then it's time to question what this relationship is all about. For both of you, if they don't care, why should you? Bin shares. In love, you know that your relationship is over when you are completely indifferent to them. If you don't care what they do, where they go, then it's time to move on. The opposite of love is not hate. It's indifference. 4. Stressful conflicts. Often people tend to start conflicts when they feel like the relationship is over. So if the little things that never bothered you are now making you angrier, it's time to move on to someone you can spend more time snooping around with than arguing. Talking it out in a relationship is a great way to vent and can actually be healthy. After all, it shows that you both still care about each other. However, If it gets to a point where you can no longer resolve issues and are just constantly arguing, then you need to think about how you want to proceed in the relationship. If you find that you both still want to work things out, you can restore your relationship. If you don't, then unfortunately there is no relationship. 5. Avoid mentioning future plans. Does the thought of spending more time with your partner than necessary scare you? So then you need to take the relationship seriously. Being in a relationship should never be a chore or require too much effort. If you still want to spend a lot of time on yourself and avoid talking about the future, then it's time to walk away from the relationship completely. Sometimes, realizing that love is no longer bringing happiness is the first step to freeing yourself. A relationship should be a place where both of you feel free and happy, not a burden or a compulsion. If you feel disconnected and can't find joy again, it's a clear sign that it's time to let go and find a new future for yourself. 6. Daydreaming about other relationships. If you start daydreaming about other people, imagining your life as a single person, and fantasizing about the next person you want to date, then your relationship is basically over. When your mind starts drifting towards other relationships, it means that the current relationship has faded. This is a clear sign to look back and consider letting go. Because a relationship that no longer and during that time, they have been a couple that many people admire. Their evenings together, their laughter and stories about work, about their dreams for the future, all make up a relationship that seems perfect. However, over time, those sweet things gradually became boring habits, as if they were living the life of close friends instead of lovers. Sophie began to notice changes from the smallest things. One evening, when they were having dinner together, Ethan did not ask her a single question about work or the day. He just focused on his phone, occasionally glancing up at her hurriedly. Sophie tried to make conversation, but Ethan's answers were all tired, yeah, oh, or, okay. Their conversations were now like a passing wind, no longer having a real connection. Sophie felt like she was talking to a wall, instead of the person she loved. One day, Sophie decided to challenge Ethan. She pretended to forget her birthday and did not mention it. She wanted to see how he would react. The day passed, and when it was already dark, Ethan sent Sophie a hasty text. "Oh, is it your birthday today? Happy birthday. Do you want to go out to eat?" The question left Sophie feeling disappointed. She had expected a sweet wish, a surprise, but everything was just a casual gesture, lacking sincerity. Sophie also began to notice that when she talked about the future, Ethan only responded superficially. Every time she shared her plans, he responded indifferently. "Sure. Tell me." Stories about long trips, a house together or children were no longer shared. Everything was now vague and no longer cared about. Their happy moments gradually became rare. The hand-holding was no longer warm, but cold like a habit. Every evening together was no longer fun but an obligation. Sophie felt empty, and she realized that the love between them was no longer what it used to be.
One day, Sophie decided to test Ethan. She pretended to forget her birthday and didn't mention it. She wanted to see how he would react. The day passed, and when it was already dark, Ethan just sent Sophie a hasty text. "Oh, is it your birthday today? Congratulations. Do you want to go out to eat somewhere?" That question made Sophie feel disappointed. She had expected a sweet wish, a surprise. But everything was just a passing gesture, lacking sincerity. Sophie also began to notice that when she talked about the future, Ethan only answered superficially. Every time she shared her plans, He would respond indifferently, "Sure. Tell me." Stories about long trips, a shared house, or children were no longer shared. Everything was now vague and uninteresting. Their happy moments gradually became rare. The handshakes were no longer warm, but cold as a habit. Every evening together was no longer a joy but an obligation. Sophie felt empty, and she realized that the love between them was no longer what it used to be. Finally, Sophie decided to face the truth. She couldn't continue in this relationship that lacked real connection. Although it was painful, Sophie knew that if they continued, they would only hurt each other more. She asked Ethan out for an evening and said gently, "Ethan, I think it's time for us to end it. The love is no longer here." Ethan looked at her, his eyes empty. But then he just nodded slightly. There was no surprise or strong reaction. They both knew that their relationship had reached a dead end. Ethan didn't hold Sophie back, and Sophie didn't ask him to change. They parted ways, each carrying memories but no hope for a future together. After the breakup, Sophie felt relieved. She knew that this decision wasn't the end, but the opening of a new door. She will find herself again, discover her unfulfilled dreams. And one day, she believes that she will find true love, a love that is not burdened, but a natural, happy and complete connection. If you find the video useful, please share it with many people, as well as subscribe to the channel. Like, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Goodbye and see you in the next video.